Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mind and More, where we talk about anything that comes to mind and more. Today, what's on my mind is workplace bullying. Any kind of hostile or inappropriate behavior at work, or workmates just trying you. I was thinking about this because I was thinking back on some times in my own life where I've had a supervisor or a coworker try to test me. And look, I usually know how to stand my ground, so those situations don't usually last long. Although there was this one time where I had an absolutely insane supervisor and I genuinely couldn't do anything about it until a certain time period was over. That was definitely stressful. Almost lost my mind. These situations are always stressful, but this got me thinking about some of the craziest workplace bullying moments in our favorite TV shows and how insane some of these would be if they happened in actual real life workplaces. So today we're going to go through some of the wildest workplace bullying scenarios from The Office, Superstore, Parks and Rec, and Community. We're gonna laugh at how ridiculous these moments are. I want us to imagine working in some of these places. And here and there, I'll throw in some advice for these characters getting bullied because somebody's gotta help them, right? Since HR clearly isn't doing anything. A quick disclaimer though before we start. This will be a light-hearted breakdown because we're discussing TV shows. But if you're dealing with something similar in real life, I hope you walk away from this video knowing that you don't have to just take it. It's always okay to go find somewhere that will respect you or value you, if you're in a position to do so, that is. Anyway, let's go. The Office. The Office is a masterclass in workplace dysfunction, so we've got a lot to work with here. Firstly, there's Jim and Dwight. Technically, this one's a mutual prank war, but let's be honest, Jim escalates things way past harmless fun sometimes. There's a cute bromance side to Jim and Dwight that is not missed on me, but there's also times where Jim unnecessarily harasses Dwight and calls it a prank. Even he himself admitted that his pranks didn't sound that funny if you say them one after the other. So let's call a spade and say that Jim is a bully sometimes. Not every time, but sometimes. If this were real life, being at the receiving end of Jim's pranks is only funny if you go to work to play and not to pay your bills. And I'm not sure if there's a large population in the world that just wakes up at 5 a.m. just to go and play. If I wanted to play, I would not wake up at 5 a.m. to do it. Let's go through some of these pranks. There's the stapler in jelly, where Jim froze Dwight's stapler in jelly. What exactly is funny about that? What exactly is funny about getting to work and finding your fully grown adult co-worker having frozen your stationery in a dessert? Okay, it's just a tiny bit funny. But I think this is so stupid, and Andy absolutely had the best and most appropriate reaction when Jim tried it on him. Man's lost it, and I totally understand why. Jim also once put Dwight's stationery in the vending machine, then handed him a bag of coins so he could buy his stuff back. So instead of coming in and getting straight to work, Dwight had to spend at least an hour trying to get his own stuff back from the office vending machine. I don't encourage violence, but someone needs to get punched, and that person is Jim Halpert. Another thing is Jim once moved Dwight's desk to the bathroom. He moved Dwight's desk with all of the things in and on it into the men's room. How disgusting is that? Honestly, where was Jim even getting the time and energy to do these things? Speaking of time and energy, he also impersonated Dwight. Rather than buying himself a nice lunch or something, he spent $11 whole recreating Dwight's look, rather than wasting money on dumb things like this. In another instance, Jim convinced Dwight he had been recruited by the CIA and had him running around doing all sorts of stupid things. Well, I kind of low-key blamed Dwight on this one. I mean, it was obvious he was being played with. But anyway, one after the other, it all becomes too much. Dwight took his work seriously, a little too seriously sometimes, but he just wanted to work. A joke here and there is great, but at some point, if this were real life, Jim's antics were childish and a total waste of the time he was getting paid for. Next is Michael versus Toby.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
This one's not a prank war. Michael straight up hates Toby. From what we saw on screen, Toby never did anything to Michael, but for whatever reason, Toby was the bane of his existence. That's what makes it so funny to watch. But if this were real life, it would be so wild if your boss hated you this much for no reason. Michael often interrupted or prevented Toby from doing his job as the HR manager. Honestly, why was Toby even there if Michael wouldn't let him do his job? Michael was constantly attacking Toby, and a lot of the attacks were personal too. He used to make funny comments about Toby being divorced. Can you imagine your work colleague making comments about something as sensitive and personal as your divorce? Michael was begging for Toby to beat him up, but I also can't imagine Toby beating anyone up, Can you? Michael also isolated Toby from the rest of the office by excluding him from several events like Beach Day and saying stuff like, Toby is HR, which means he's corporate, so he's not really part of our family. What? Also, don't get me started about workplaces where the boss always says stuff like, we're family. Those are often the most toxic environments you could work in, filled with gossip, butt kissing, and nonsense at every corner. But anyway, before I get sidetracked, when Toby was leaving for Costa Rica, Michael gave him the worst and most inappropriate exit interview, topped with a plan to give him a rock that says suck on this as a goodbye gift. Too far, Michael, too far. Toby also always seemed quite depressed when at the office, and I'm sure a big reason for this was Michael. The whole Toby and Michael dynamic was funny to watch on TV, but absolutely wild in real life. My advice to Toby would have been to beat up Michael before he left for Costa Rica. That was the only right way to go. Then there's Angela versus everyone.
Angry at you for doing something stupid. Angry at me for believing you could do something not stupid.
Angela's judgmental and catty toward pretty much everyone in the office. But then again, she also gets mocked constantly for being uptight, for her cats, and for her beliefs. But she usually deserves it. She bullied Phyllis like crazy, and she used the party planning committee to go on power trips. Angela called Pam names that imply Pam was promiscuous because for whatever reason, Angela put herself on this moral high horse. She generally treated all her other workmates as if they were beneath her, from Kevin and Oscar to Meredith and Kelly. She was just generally unpleasant to be around. Lastly, for the office, there's everyone versus Gabe.
I think it's my responsibility to let you know that Gabe is gross.
Happy birthday to Gabe!
Oh, get out, skeleton man!
Gabe might have been the most bullied person in the entire show. Absolutely everyone bullied Gabe. From comments about his physique to everyone undermining his authority, the Gabe situation was out of hand. When he was leaving, Kelly went to hug him and said, ugh, afterwards because apparently he was too skinny. Kelly was wild, I tell you. The entire office just undermined him. No one was willing to listen to him or take him seriously. Granted, Gabe was quite creepy sometimes, but the way everyone behaved toward him was so out of line. My advice to Gabe would be, actually, I don't know on this one. I really don't have any advice. Finally, moving on from The Office, next we have Parks and Recreation. Everyone versus Jerry or Gary/Larry/Terry.
I make fun of you a lot, but credit where credit is due. I like how the...
Now this one is insane. No one respects him to the point that they refuse to call him by his actual name. Over the course of the show, he goes by 4 different names, and the crazy part is he just lets it slide. He genuinely is a really good guy though. Jerry gets blamed for things he didn't do, mocked for even the smallest of things, and he's just framed as this uncool guy. But here's the great part. The show eventually reveals Jerry has the happiest home life. the most money, and the most well-adjusted family out of everyone in Parks and Rec. So my advice for Jerry is, who cares what your co-workers think? Keep doing you. You've already won, my guy. Thirdly, Superstore. Dina versus everyone. Dina is crazy, man. She says and does some of the wildest things and doesn't even realize it. She once tried to fight Jonah because corporate was commending him for how he handled a thief who tried to steal cash from the store. Jonah didn't do anything to this thief, which was apparently in line with Cloud9 protocol. But Dina stepped in and pinned down the guy. But instead of Dina getting thanked, she was reprimanded for not following protocol. And instead, Jonah was given praise. Dina was Jonah's boss, and she was so mad about this that she spent the entire day bullying Jonah and eventually tried to fight him in the car park. Imagine this. Imagine your boss trying to fight you in the car park. And it's not just Jonah. Dina calls everyone names from time to time. She's made fun of Kelly's height and voice. Well, actually, everyone at Cloud9 did. This scene was wild. I also saw a web-exclusive clip where she was tracking everyone's bathroom behavior, which is so invasive. She also once called Glenn, who's her boss, by the way, who was her boss at the time. Both Glenn and Sandra, she called them useless. Speaking of Sandra, everyone bullied Sandra. One of Sandra's biggest bullies is Carol. They were fighting over a man, and Carol would go as far as to do stuff to Sandra's food. Oh my goodness. But anyway, nobody remembers Sandra's name half the time. Her ideas get ignored in meetings. She gets left out of things constantly. And with Sandra, they mostly make her feel invisible and unimportant. My advice for Sandra is quit. Quit, girl. Actually, my advice for most people in Cloud9, rather at Cloud9, would be to quit because most of them hated their jobs anyway. Finally, Community. The only thing I'm going to talk about here is the vice dean bullying the dean, which is extra crazy because the dean is obviously the vice dean's boss. We all know that Dean Pelton is the most unserious dean ever, but there was a season where for once he actually tried to do his job. Must have been season 4. He grew a mustache, tried to be more authoritative, and was asking more questions, while the vice dean was not having it. The vice dean invited the dean to his office, and there he basically told him to shut up, called him an imp, and had his mustache shaved. The vice dean had the dean, aka his boss's mustache forcibly shaved. What kind of a lawsuit do you even file in this kind of a case? Anyway, all of this being said, when you break down these moments, a lot of funny sitcom moments would be genuinely messed up if they happened in real life. Comedy writers exaggerate this stuff for laughs, but the patterns are real. Sometimes the boss can just hate you. There's co-workers who will test you, and there can be a person who quietly gets excluded until they feel invisible. So that being said, let me know in the comments which one of these moments we discussed was the craziest to you. For me, it's the vice dean and dean situation. It's absolutely insane. And also, have you ever been tried in the workplace?